Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching. It would mean the world to us if you could just scroll down, like, hit the subscribe button for the Snaps YouTube channel. It goes a long way towards helping us out. Now, let's dive into some college football. Clemson has filed a lawsuit against the ACC, which means the conference is now facing lawsuits from both Clemson and Florida State. Aaron, yesterday I said that the 14-team playoff keeps college football together. And you said that, well, but the ACC's fight is not over yet, right? And of course, Clemson's filing this lawsuit because they just basically got forced to agree to a deal in which they will receive half the money each year out of the TV revenue of the schools that they will be directly competing with. So what's your interpretation of this lawsuit then, Mr. Smart Guy?
Well, I mean, the interpretation is that they want out. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they see the money being lost once again to the Big Ten, to the SEC, the sitting in the room with the decision makers, knowing that you're at the kids' table and the Big Ten and the SEC are at the adult table. Like, that's not a good feeling if you're Florida State or Clemson or the Carolinas or Miami. Like, you view your brand as one of the biggest brands in college football, yet you are not in charge of the next direction in the next phase of college football. And it's humbling. It's frustrating. I'd be pissed off as hell. Florida State obviously has voiced their concerns for a couple of years now. Clemson here and there is somewhat voiced it. Now this is their real big push saying, like, enough's enough already. So, I mean, when you look at it, and I'm looking at the Pete Thamel article that just came out on ESPN, and you see unenforceable when it comes to the grant of rights. Inconsistent with the plain language of the agreement.
You're saying that's what Clemson, what is Clemson trying to argue? They're trying to argue the grant of rights should be unenforceable?
Yes. The grant of rights and exit fees, calling the withdrawal penalty unenforceable.
I mean, I guess we'll see. From what I read in that On3 article, it looks like Clemson's been working on this as long as Florida State has. They've just been doing it in the shadows, more so than Florida State's very vocal efforts. I guess, though, my reaction is, does this change anything? If Florida State hasn't found a way out yet, if Clemson hasn't found a way out, like, I still don't. It feels like they have an angle they're taking, but I don't know that it sounds like that they have a legal slam dunk.
I don't think they do. No, I don't think they do, or they would have already taken that route and moved. Like, Florida State would have been gone a year ago if they could have gone out of this grant of rights. I think it is ironclad. I think it is very difficult, almost impossible to get out of it. I think they're now going the route of, how do we make a circus out of this and pressure the ACC into doing something?
So, yeah, so here's a direct quote from Clemson's lawsuit. Quote, without a judicial declaration of its legal rights, which have been openly challenged by the ACC, Clemson is unable to pursue a wide range of strategic alternatives that may be necessary for its continued success in collegiate athletics and as an institution. By espousing an inaccurate interpretation of the grant of rights agreements and allowing that interpretation to proliferate throughout the media, the ACC has cast a harmful cloud of doubt on Clemson's ability to engage in meaningful discussions with other conferences and media providers regarding potential future collaborations and/or to negotiate alternative revenue sharing proposals among ACC members. For Clemson to move ahead and ensure that it may continue to act in furtherance of its institutional mission, that cloud must be lifted. So to me, not being a lawyer, just being somebody who ate a plate of red beans, I think the key here, so obviously they're trying to argue that, like they said, their ability to negotiate these TV contracts, talk to other conferences about what they bring to the conference, have been hindered, that people aren't interested in dealing with them because, well, they think they're not allowed to deal with them. I think the key line is here, by espousing an inaccurate interpretation of the grant of rights agreements, that is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Like, that's what Clemson and Florida State are going to have to prove. You're telling me it's an inaccurate interpretation. How? You know? Because they're basically saying, well, the ACC's painting this inaccurate picture, this false picture, and then they're telling everybody about it and everybody's accepting it, but that's not the case. But they still haven't told us necessarily why that's not the case.
I mean, do you not agree with the fact, like, if there was a way to get out, like, this interpretation would have been brought to light by now, and Florida State would be farther along the path of exiting the ACC.
Well, that's why it feels like a that's why it feels like a play. You know,
Yeah,
that's why it feels
yeah, I think it is. It's a
like kind
media
of like
play.
it's a deep ball here. Yeah.
Yeah.
They maybe their lawyers have likely tried to find some way of framing the terms of the
Mhm.
grant of right agreements to try to present a loophole. Now,
Yep.
maybe they feel, because like I said, they've been operating in the shadows more so than Florida State has, right? So maybe they feel like they've really crafted something good here and they're waiting to release it as the kind of look. And here's what the case actually is. I would say this, to my understanding, and I find this to be so funny
Mhm.
and so incredible, but to my understanding, you cannot look at the grant of rights agreement that the ACC has online. Like, I believe as a lawyer, they will not send you the documents. I remember reading that the only way to study the documents is to actually go to the ACC offices, is to send your, like, it's the Declaration of Independence, is to send your lawyers to the offices to read the exact copy. Maybe I'll try to look that up and double check. But in my head, I'm just imagining, like, okay, somebody asked me what's
Well, and
better.
then listen, I would say,
Confirming-
and this is just from all my years of watching suits. Unless a lawsuit is put forward, then they don't technically have to present it to you. I mean,
um,
once a lawsuit is presented, then you obviously you go through discovery. Sound like a wannabe lawyer over here. You go through discovery, and then you have to then send everything you have
then you
to
have to
the
give,
opponent.
yeah, maybe
Yes,
so.
then you have to. Yes.
So maybe I'm wrong on that. I feel like I remember reading that because I was just tickled to death by it. Like, somebody
Mhm.
asked, "What's better, Return of the Jedi or Return of the King?" I mean, for me, it's Return of the King. I love Lord of the Rings, and when I think about a grant of right agreements that you can only read in person, I think about Gandalf when he rides to Minas Tirith, and he's got like the clouds of smoke ringed around his head, and he's just rifling through scrolls and papers trying to find Isildur's writings on the ring to see if the ring that Frodo has is indeed the one ring. Like that, those are Clemson's lawyers deep in the bowels of
Mhm.
ACC headquarters trying to figure out a way to free their people from the clutches of ACC oppression. Um, I
It's also
guess
like Game of Thrones when
huh,
your twin had to ride to,
Sam
uh,
Tarley.
yeah, Sam had to go ride to go find out the true secrets of, the true.
Yeah, what was he looking for? He was looking to try to heal Grayscale, right?
Yes, he was trying to heal Grayscale.
Which, if you could heal Grayscale that easily, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But whatever. That's
Yeah.
that's that's neither here nor there. See, somebody said you tuned out. No, Aaron was just getting his own fantasy analogy ready to go.
Mhm. I
Thank you very
was.
much. Give my
Yes.
dog some credit, okay?
Was not
Tom-
as smooth as T-Bob's, but I got a little nerdy there.
Tommy says Murray putting those 9 seasons of Suits to good use. Is that
I
where
am
you
mar
learned about Discovery?
I am married to an attorney, so I do listen to her every now and then as
Oh,
well.
okay. So no, so he has actual legal. So we need to bring Sharon Murray in on
Yes.
this,
Yes.
and we can get actual legal advice. So I here's where I'm at with this story. Um, I don't know that this moves it forward for me in any significant way until I see Clemson's specific argument as to how the grant of rights is being inaccurately interpreted and
Mhm.
how it's being inaccurately applied. And then we can judge on our own merit. Do we think that this argument has, well, first off, does it have, like, does it pass the general public sniff test? I won't even get into a legal sniff test. We can talk to a lawyer
Yeah.
about that. But I want to know, like, if I hear their argument and I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe there's something there actually. Because right now, it seems like, I mean, I completely understand why they're upset. And I completely understand that,
Mhm.
yes, their ability to negotiate their future is being capped and is being controlled. And that's got to be incredibly frustrating. But I mean, it also looks like they signed a,
You signed it, damn it. You signed the damn
yeah.
contract. I'm not saying I'm numb to it because I do think you get enough powerful people to the table that maybe you can make some sort of movement in the right direction. But until something is presented to me that goes above and beyond just trying to use big words in a ESPN article, um, it's hard for me to feel like there is a path out of this grant of rights. I just have not been
You
presented to any fact.
I always feel like lawyers are skilled enough and like you're kind of getting at, where there's enough money or enough will, there's a way. But
Mm,
it's so life or death for the ACC that it may not actually be the case, right?
yeah,
Because if the ACC loses these two teams, they're
it's
gonna
done.
start to smell
It's
like the Pac-12 a bit. I don't know if I think they're 100% done, but if you lose these two, then I imagine that quote about precedence that I love so much. But like if you lose these two, then I imagine the door will open for UNC,
Car-
who we know is coveted
Miami. Yep.
by the SEC. Miami, Virginia, getting
Yep.
into those markets are attractive to the conferences. So yeah,
Mhm.
I do feel you. This almost feels like a little. It could be like you're walking on the ice, right?
No,
And you have the
it is
first
the
crack,
Pac-12.
and then it just shatters.
I mean, the Pac-12 lost. They lost Los Angeles. Then you lose Oregon and Washington, and then from there it was just like floodgates are open. We're out of here. Because at that point, like, where's a deal to be made when it comes to creating any sort of revenue for the remaining schools? Like, why would they stay when it was all said and done? So, yeah, ACC knows if you lose your big two, um, kind of like losing Washington, Oregon, that you can't stand on these other teams and hope to survive.
Now, I would think though that wouldn't necessarily change the 14-team playoff beyond these automatic qualifiers getting just split up and divvied up among other conferences or going to at-large bids, right?
Yeah,
Like I see no reason why, because like the Big 12 would likely just be like, "Whoa, guys, what the fuck? We didn't do anything," you know?
yeah, yeah.
Let's keep this. But then again, I don't know, like if there's legalese in there, and it's not even finalized yet, so we definitely
Well,
don't know the full
but
details.
to me, the one worry I would have if I'm a college football fan, this is just a worry. This isn't. I don't know if this is a problem or not, but if the ACC, if Clemson and Florida State left, and we went down the path of the demise of that conference, similar to the Pac-12, and then all of a sudden the big boys in those two are not going to the Big 12. The UNC, the NC State, the Virginia, the Florida State, the Clemson, the Miami, they would go to the Big 10 or the SEC. And I'm sure there would be
Ideally, yes.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure there'd be some agreement between the Big 10 and SEC if, hey, we take this group, you take this group, because they're
We
working
we
together.
we
They're
do have,
working
yeah, that's
together.
true. No, they are working together, but we do have to remember, like, every school they add to the mix is another mouth to feed.
Oh,
So, like,
100%.
remember how Oregon and them had to agree to take
Mm,
less in the short term, and then eventually they'll get full
I'm sure
membership?
that'd be part of the deal too. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is if that happens, that hits the accelerator on what we've discussed before. Of this is just it's two conferences, and the Big 12 becomes. I
Yeah.
think then the Big 12 is irrelevant at that point too.
I
If
mean,
there's no ACC, I feel like the Big 12 is just kind of what's the Big 12? It's nothing. It truly is at that point. If Florida State and Clemson find a way out of this, we will
yeah.
get to a point where it is only the Big 10. It is only the SEC.
Oh, God damn it, Aaron Murray. Maybe you were right yesterday. Maybe the future of college football as we know it is not as secure
Mm-mm.
as I potentially felt it was with this 14-team playoff.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to be a little pretentious, and I want to read you one of my favorite quotes, and it's about precedent, right? Precedents, not precedents, but precedents, plural, and the power of precedent. This is like how, one or two school leaving, all of a sudden everybody follows. Um, this is from Storm Before the Storm by Mike Duncan, but this is a quote from Valeus Paterculus. He said,
Mm.
quote, precedents do not stop where they begin, but however narrow the path upon which they enter, they create for themselves a highway whereon they may wander with the utmost latitude. And here's the key line: no one thinks a course is base for himself, which has proven profitable to others. And think about what we've seen in college football, that
Mhm.
lightning strike of a news cycle where all of a sudden Texas and Oklahoma are leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC. And rawr, there was yelling and there was anger, but you know what it proved to be? Profitable for
Mhm.
Texas and Oklahoma. So what
Mhm.
happened next? Everybody starts to follow suit. What's Florida State and Clemson now? They're trying to hop in on that highway that is starting to gain in latitude, right?
Mhm.
Florida State suing the ACC. Well, if they did it, hell, if he
Yeah.
does it, right? No one thinks a course is based for himself. Well, Clemson said, we're going to sue you as well. So, I mean, it's one of my favorite quotes ever. You should lock it in. But yeah, it's the exact path that college football is heading down right now. So we'll see.